for the ones who care.
What's going on, people? Welcome back to another video. It's 3:10 in the morning. Should be asleep, but I thought I'd make a video. Let's talk about stats for a minute, shall we? I see a lot of stats everywhere. They are useful, but I think they're very overrated, actually, and very deceptive, and used by clever people to manipulate the simple minds, and there are plenty of simple minds amongst us. One of the stats that's being thrown about right now is that Brendan Rodgers has the same record, identical record, to Jurgen Klopp in his first 54 games as Liverpool manager. But that is such a dig at Jurgen Klopp that even though I don't obviously think that they've been in the best of form, 1 win in 10 in a calendar year is quite shocking. I find that quite insulting to my intelligence, and I just wanted to start this video by saying that Jurgen Klopp is being made to look bad by that statistic in particular, and plenty of other statistics. Yes, he's not doing very well right now, neither is his side. I'm really growing tired of people constantly blaming managers, because whilst I'm not a firm believer that he's a great tactician, he's certainly very reliant on his system. He is great at what he does, and he's proven that he can take teams all the way to the top. Brendan Rodgers is managing at Celtic, and I talked about Celtic in the last video, and they're doing really well. But some Liverpool fans seem to think that they would be better off with Brendan Rodgers than they would Jurgen Klopp, simply because of the domination that Celtic are entertaining us with in Scotland, which I find quite laughable, especially when you consider that in the first 54 games of Rodgers' career at Liverpool, his Liverpool tenure, shall we say, he had Luis Suarez, he had Daniel Sturridge, who was looking like a world-class striker, he had an on-fire Raheem Sterling, he had Steven Gerrard, still possibly in decline, but certainly still very capable, whereas Jurgen Klopp has played he's played reserves last season in the league and concentrated on the cup or cup competitions. People have such short-term memories, it's fucking irritating. Excuse my language. But I think that they're doing Klopp a disservice, actually, because even though I've given him a bit of stick, even though I've said that he's not as tactically adept as some people think he might be, he is a great manager, and Liverpool would be damn fools to let the guy go or to sack him, thinking that they're going to get something better immediately. I really hope they don't. I really hope they stick it out with him, because give him a couple of seasons more, Liverpool will be making more progress, because they are making progress. Admittedly, it's obviously hindered or halted in the last month or so, but people were fucking acting like the sun shone out of his arse only a few months ago. Beginning of the season, Liverpool again were in the title race, and this could be the year, and Klopp's, it's just laughable the way this works. Football is a game played by footballers, and if those footballers don't execute the tactics or the plans that managers have, is the manager to blame? You can't tell me he's not a man motivator. He's one of the finest out there. We're just too impatient these days. We're too impatient. Tinder. I'm bored with my bird. I'm going to swipe right. Fucking Snapchat. I can't be asked to fucking read. I just want to see a little fucking 7-second story. App's shit now. I want a new app. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Liverpool fans, let me know. Am I wrong? I feel like he's been doing a good job at building. He probably could have been more ruthless, maybe taking a few risks in the transfer market, but to just rubbish this guy again, it's just another case of Let's just chop and change and hope that we land on the money. Just stick to a plan. Stick to a plan and it will happen. It's just so frustrating. There's 19 teams in the league that can't win it. Everyone just feels like they're entitled to win the Premier League. It's so frustrating seeing this. I want to win, and if I don't win, then you can fuck off. Right. Well, everyone's trying to win, mate. Everyone. And some teams have won and then been destroyed or pulled apart or aren't motivated enough anymore and lie in 6th or 16th or 18th or fucking wherever Leicester are. I feel a little bit for Klopp. The pressure is on him a little bit, but I'm sure that he'll turn it around. You know what? I've got a feeling that they'll beat Tottenham. That would be typical football. Football is this is the thing. It's like accidents happen. Things go wrong. Most goals are not, clean strikes from 40 yards out. They're not perfect goals. Most of them come as a result of basic individual errors left, right and centre. And as much as you can plan for that, you can plan to avoid as many individual errors as possible by preparing properly and quality coaching. You can't stop individual errors. It's just like dropping the fork, dropping your toast, right? Occasionally it just happens. Football is a sport. Like, the best people don't always win. They don't. It's life, right? I don't know. Anyway, that's Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp. Let's move on. Let's talk about Philipp Lahm for a second. Who's announced that he's going to terminate his contract at the end of the season, retiring at 33, having won 7 Bundesligas, Champions League final twice, 3 times, and then he's won one of them. World Cup 2014 and numerous other trophies, he's won it all. He's been playing basically since he was 11 years old, from Bayern youth, I think, into Bayern's second team. He did 2 years at Stuttgart. I don't know if people remember that, but he had a loan at Stuttgart, and he's turned into one of the most reliable players in world football. And you can see there's been a decline, and it was quite interesting to see how he's deployed under Guardiola. Totally shifting, but he's so intelligent that he can do it anywhere. Proven that. Incredible leader, successful captain. He's a German legend. He's an international legend. And I think people were expecting anyway, him to take on a director of football role at Bayern, which he's now said that he's not going to do. He said that he needs a break, and you can't blame the guy. He's been playing since he was 11, he's 33, 22 years of straight football. Day in, day out, week in, week out. You need a break, so it'll be sad to see a legend like that go. It always is, really. But we are witnessing, if you think about it, the plateau. I suppose we're going past the plateau, aren't we? Of so many great players like Cristiano Ronaldo is coming to an end. Lionel Messi is approaching that. He's got a couple of years by. He's approaching that downturn, and it's Zlatan. There's a lot of great players who are coming to the end, and a lot of great players who are coming up. People forget that Neymar has. I'm plucking Neymar out of the air, really, but Neymar, he has an incredible record for Brazil. Incredible record for Brazil when you think about it. He's only been outscored, I think, by Romario, Pele, and the real Ronaldo. Which means that, give him a few years, 3 years probably, he'll have outscored all of them. He'll have outscored Pele. I mean, incredible. Incredible. And he's, what, 24? 24 years old. It just makes me think, like, what have I done with my life? Do you know what I mean? What have I done with my life? But we have a new era coming through. And, you know, the likes of Gabriel Jesus, I've been going on about this kid. I'm so hyped about this kid. So impressive in Brazil. He's bang on the money with the goals for his international, in the international setup. I think he scored 7 in 5 games over the Olympics and a couple of other games, but he's made a fantastic start. And that's the future, just the same way as Aguero is on the way out of Manchester City, or at least we're beginning to see the downturn. He's coming to an end. He'll have to move soon. I mean, it's not finished by any means. He's still got a lot to offer, but he's been out with injury. He's been out with the suspensions. He's been, you know, personal life, having kids, getting married, that type of thing. Divorce, I think. And once upon a time, he was the young, the new kid on the block at Atleti. I think he turned up when he was 18 from Independiente. At the time, like £20 million or something like that. And when he was 18, I think when he was 19, it was probably his breakout year for Atleti. Got them to Europe, won cup competitions, qualified for the Champions League, came close to winning La Liga. He could have been a real legend out there. I think a lot of people still consider him a hero, but the way that he left is being talked about now. The president's come out and said, I forget his name, Calderon of the stadium, so Cerezo or something like that. He's basically said that he's the only player to leave in like unceremonious circumstances, if you will. Kind of left out the back. He kind of forced his way out of Atleti to make that City move. And I can't remember how much they paid for him, like 37 million, something like that, £35 million, something like that. But they feel that Atleti, like, they could have got a lot and should have got a lot more for him, because he's one of the best strikers in the world. I still think he's one of the best strikers in the world, but he has been on the decline, and he doesn't offer as much as he once did. He doesn't look as hungry anymore. And it's going to be very frustrating for a player of that quality to be sitting on the bench. I'm not sure how long they'll be able to keep hold of him, or how long they want to keep hold of him, to be honest. It may well be a case of they're ready to cash in. He's making plans already with his agent. There's a lot of talk about a Chelsea move, a Real Madrid move possibly. Tevez moved across Manchester. Would it be possible for Aguero to move? There's talk of Griezmann. We'll go on to Griezmann in a bit. I'm going to talk about Griezmann in a bit, but is it possible that, I don't know, I think that's a bit far-fetched, isn't it? He'll probably go abroad, but I can see him moving. He looked very, very frustrated when Jesus was just so impressive in the last few games. In Swansea, you could see him shaking on the bench, very agitated, obviously thinking about his future. Maybe that will make him hungrier. I've already said this, he's going to be a Manchester City legend forever, He will never have a more career-defining moment than that Premier League winning goal against QPR, I think. But it's interesting, we are at a turning point, I think, where some great players are going to be on the move, or just finishing, ending their careers, and they're not necessarily in their prime anymore. I love Aguero. One of the most clinical strikers I've ever seen. When he was at Atletico, he was so fucking good, my God. So good. Spanish football to me is, I'll talk about the Barcelona Atletico game today, or a few hours ago. It's now 4 a.m. Sorry if I'm not talking very loudly, but I'm quite tired. Incredible game, so many talking points, I don't really know where to start, to be honest. Barcelona went into the game 2-1 up, the second leg, Copa del Rey semi-final, and it ended 1-1, so Barca qualified for, I think, a record 9th Copa del Rey final, equaling Real Madrid's record. Obviously Real Madrid already out due to Celta. Yeah, Aspas, another resurgence. But what a game. Atleti obviously needed to take the game to Barcelona. Diego Simeone knew that, and they were dominating in the first half. Well, for the first half of the first half, certainly. Bullied them in the midfield, absolutely bullying Gomez, putting him under so much pressure. He was being forced into mistakes left, right and centre. Rakitic looked very shaky, and the fact that he was trying to combine with Sergio Roberto, who's also looked like he's playing with a real lack of confidence. Touch was very off, passing was average, getting caught out, all of them looked under pressure. And if it wasn't for 2 players, I would say, no, 3 players, Alba, who played very well, looked hungry, he's so pacey, it's very, very difficult. He's like Bellerin in a way, but he's a much more complete player. It's very difficult to outdo someone with that kind of pace because they can make a mistake, you can beat the man, and they can still recover. In fact, they can recover enough to cover 2 men at times. Although Bellerin struggled to do that. He's not a centre-back, for fuck's sake, against Chelsea. Anyway. I was very impressed with Alba. Umtiti, the second player who I was very impressed with in the first. He was a massive part of the reason why they were able to hang on. A massive part of the reason. He's been very impressive. Left foot, dreamy. Passing is very good. Not afraid to just bang it clear when necessary or in real danger. Very physical. Good in the air. He licks the ball very cleanly. And he's been a quality signing. To me, absolutely first-class signing for Barcelona. They needed a centre-back of real quality, real potential, someone that can grow into the role, and he's been perfect for that. And he saved their skin a few times. He saved their skin, as did Cillessen. Cillessen was very impressive. He was actually booked for time wasting. And, people moan about time wasting. It's obviously, if you're the opposition or fans of the opposition, it's not great. It's actually bloody annoying. And if you're a neutral, sometimes it can be frustrating to watch, but it's very clever. It's a bit naughty, but it's very clever, and it's all part of the game. Running down the clock, making sure that you get the win. One thing I'm most impressed with about the guy as well was not only his shot stopping, but also his passing ability, how comfortable he is on the ball, how intelligently he is able to pick out a man. And obviously he's been playing second fiddle to Ter Stegen, who I think is by and large a better goalkeeper, and probably one of, if not the best goalkeeper with the ball at his feet these days. And that's what Barcelona like, don't they? They like the goalkeeper to be the first line of the attack. They like to build from the back. They like the ball on the ground. And I was very impressed with Cillessen as well. But that's not to take anything away from Atleti, who were doing some brilliant work in that first half of the first half. Really putting pressure, pressing well. Always a man assisting and covering to pick up the loose ball, first to every second ball. Playing a slightly more conventional 4-4-2 actually, and using Torres and Griezmann. And Torres had a penalty shout where Sergio Roberto basically came in very clumsily from behind him and kind of rugby tackled him. He fell into him and had his arms around him, and it could well have been given as a penalty. I have no doubt that a lot of referees would have given that as a penalty. Torres fell down to the ground a little bit too easily, but that's not to say that he wasn't clattered from behind, because he kind of was. So they may feel hard done by that they didn't get that decision going their way. But then there were so many controversial decisions during the match that it just made for kind of farcical entertainment. But that is La Liga refereeing. That is officiating in general, I think, in football these days. It's just not of a great quality. And to segue slightly off that, MLS, who are in pre-season right now in the States, are using video replays, or at least I think 11 of the clubs have been given, it may be more actually, a certain amount of clubs have been given the right to trial video replays where referees have a few things that they can turn to those replays for, or use cameras that are on the sidelines and TV screens that are on the sidelines to have a second, or make second judgments. So that will be things like red card decisions, identifying players or mistaken identity, handballs, goal line, there's a few things basically. And if they'd had that tonight, it's quite possible that Atleti would have won the game, because, well, they did themselves out of the win as well, Atleti. They really did. They had great opportunities that they didn't put away, but Antoine Griezmann was denied a fantastic goal. What a goal. Beautiful goal. Absolutely gorgeous goal. Piqué tried to step up, basically. The ball's coming from the midfield. I can't remember who the midfielder was that got it. It was possibly Koke. Some lovely one-touch football to beat the trap. And where Piqué tried to step, he realised that he got it wrong. I think he knew that Griezmann was still onside, and he actually slipped, trying to get back to cover his man. But it was called offside. A gorgeous finish from Griezmann as well. Just tucked bottom corner with that left foot beautifully. Wonderful finish. Goal disallowed. Godin had a great header early on. He headed it straight at Cillison. And the penalty miss. I mean, I've got to say, I don't actually think it was a penalty. Piqué again bringing, I think, Gameiro down. Or he brought someone down and Gameiro skied the penalty. It blazed, it skimmed the crossbar, but he just blazed it over. Not his finest moment, but then he scored. Lovely first touch from Griezmann to take it down before he swung it across, or tucked it across the face of goal for a simple tap in for Gameiro, really. Good positioning and all that, but the first touch from Griezmann was what I was most impressed with there. And there's lots of talk of him going to Manchester United, and I think his agent's actually come out and said, or someone very close to him, if not his agent, has actually come out and said that he would be perfect as Manchester United's new number 7. Obviously Depay has left, and it didn't really work for Depay, did it? He turned into this kind of meathead. I think he really overdid the weight training. I don't know where, that's a bit far-fetched, but he was always quite bulky, wasn't he? But it didn't work out for him. He didn't take his opportunities. He certainly wasn't the player that he looked at PSV or at the World Cup, where he was very impressive under Van Gaal, who obviously had a lot of faith in him. And it would be very interesting if we might already have another Paul Pogba situation on our hands here, because as much as Griezmann is a fantastic player, I get the feeling that there's a lot of this marketing business going on again, and we're going to see outrageous promotional videos and tweets and hashtags and all this malarkey. So be a fantastic signing for United. He's one hell of a player. Not great from the penalty spot as far as I'm aware, or at least I think he's missed something like 7 out of his last 9 penalties. But I might be wrong about that. I don't know how much you can read into that, but that'd be a fantastic signing for the Premier League, if anything. I just love seeing the best players in England, so that you can go and see them, or just have them in the league. And we need to accumulate more of these players, because it really does improve the quality of the football. And that's one thing that really shone for me tonight, is Barcelona against Atleti. It's two of the top European sides it's two of the top sides in world football, really, isn't it? And even when both sides were either clinging on to the game or chasing the game in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, they weren't doing the long ball thing. They weren't sending a big man up top so that they could knock it up to him and hope that they could, head one across the face of goal for a tap in. It was football. It was ball on the ground, passing, moving, shapes. It was aggression, pace, coupled with intelligence. Just a different level of football. And obviously, you've got players like Lionel Messi, who it took a while for him to get into the game. I mean, it took a while for a lot of Barcelona players to get into the game. Like I said, Rakitic, Sergi, who ended up getting sent off. Another very soft decision. I mean, a very harsh decision, if you like, for a challenge on Felipe Luis, who just really milks. He milks it so much. I mean, I don't want to dwell on that, but initially I wasn't very impressed with Andre Gomes. I thought he was very poor early on. They really had his number. But he grew into the game brilliantly, and he actually finished as one of the best players on the pitch. Piqué was talking to him at one stage, and you could see, I mean, I can't lip read Spanish. I can understand, like, poquito más, but he was like pointing, and you could see him like showing him when to go, when to stay. And he, at one point, turned two men and left them for dead. He just left them for dead. It was absolutely brilliant. Lovely touch to bring it down. Brought it back in some kind of Cruyff turn, I think. Left his two men. And he started doing a couple of like defence splitting through the line passes that really opened up what Messi feeds off. And Messi went on one of his incredible mazy runs, took it past three players, popped a low shot off, drilled it down to the bottom right-hand corner, and forced a really good save, which was a good save. But when you have a striker who has the intelligence of movement that Luis Suarez has, if you watch Suarez's movement, as soon as Messi got the ball, he knew exactly what to do. He knew exactly what to do and where to be. And it's fantastic. A lot of the time, I'm much more impressed with like the off-the-ball movement than what people do on it. Theo Walcott's a great example of that. His off-the-ball runs are incredible. On the ball, he's actually quite average, if not at times quite poor. But Suarez was in the right position. Got there before anyone. Shearer was great at that as well. So adept at following through, always looking for that opportunity and expecting the ball to drop to his feet or in and around a certain area. That's exactly what happened. A simple tap in for Suarez. But to read the game like that, it takes experience, it takes an understanding of what your players around you are doing, and it was very impressive. And then Lionel Messi had one of these free kicks. Bloody hell. There's only one player who I've ever seen that comes close to Lionel Messi. I'm sorry, there's only one player. I can't talk about Pele because I never saw Pele. I've watched him on the videos, and people say that even in the air, Pele was incredible. Defenders who were much taller than him, much more experienced, with big, strong centre forwards, say that Pele was almost unbeatable in the air, one of the best headers of the ball ever. And that isn't what Pele's remembered for. He's obviously remembered for his goal scoring ability, his dribbling, his skill, his turn of pace, being so young and so successful, obviously. But Lionel Messi is something else. He is something else. His low centre of gravity, his ability to turn on a halfpenny, his pace, his close control at that incredible pace, that speed that he's going at, and the soft, delicate touches and the control that he has over the ball. And he's one of those players, it's a little bit like I see Mahrez sometimes. Mahrez it should be predictable for a defender to read what he's doing, but it's just impossible to track. It's just impossible, at times anyway. And I was lucky enough to go to Barcelona recently at the new Camp Nou, and he missed a one-on-one. I saw him tackled like 3 or 4 times when I thought, Messi? But he will grow into a game, and without question, he will do something magical in that game. Like I said, there's only one other player who's ever, for me, come close. And I reckon, personally, if he'd been in his prime today, would be the best player in the world. And that's Diego Maradona. Now, that's a controversial one. You know, both left-footed, both incredible dribblers. I just feel like Maradona had something else. But anyway, it's another thing. Messi, he had difficulty getting into the game at the beginning, but once he does, he's just a wonder to watch. And he's another one. He'll be coming to the end soon, or in the decline soon. He's got a few years left. He's got a couple of years on. He's got a few years on Cristiano, hasn't he? But you can see already he's starting to play different roles. His goal-scoring record is slightly in decline as a result of being used as a more creative player now. And yeah, that free kick was just something else. It would have been one of his best goals, without question. It was like 40 yards out, 35 yards out. And he shouldn't be able to do that. He just shouldn't. It's not. He's just a little guy. He's just a little guy. And he just struck it so sweetly, so cleanly. And it was rising beautifully to that top corner. Just was sumptuous, like screamer. They talk about goal. And this is another thing as well. People keep saying Golazio. Please educate yourself. I know Football Italia back in the day, it sounds like that. It's a Portuguese word. Right? It would have been an incredible golazzo. Incredible. One of his best. I have no doubt about that. If that goal had gone an inch or two lower, it would have rocketed off the crossbar and down and in. And I would have just been watching it forever. He's got a lot of near misses that are just some of the most incredible moves or strikes or runs or that just didn't quite come off. But you know, he scored enough wonder goals for that not to be important. And Barcelona, anyway, they got the 2-1 win. A great game, though. Great game. Luis Suarez sent off at the end. Carrasco was sent off. Just talking about Carrasco, I think, for a second. This is another example of a player who had obviously slipped on the grass. He'd slipped. And yes, he took out his man very cleanly. He wiped Thuram off the ground and went straight through his man. But in my opinion, it was totally accidental. He wasn't trying to do that. And to send him off was like, I don't know, was it right? I don't know. It didn't feel right. It felt very harsh. People talk about UEFA Lona, and I think it's a lot more complicated than that. Spanish football, I lived in Spain for like 18 months. An ex-girlfriend who I lived with whilst I was out there, her brother would talk to me about Spanish football. He's actually the guy that like taught me a little bit of Spanish and really got me ingrained in the local community, playing football in a different climate is something that you have to really adjust to. And the way that they play football is like, it's just, even at the level that I was playing at, it was just like, fucking hell, these guys are 45 and they're just pinging it, ping, 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 ping. It's very different to England, I'll tell you that much. And he was actually an Atleti fan. I've kind of got a soft spot for Atleti, but what he's taught me about that, and what I've learned since, is that it's very political. It's very, very political. Real Madrid is so closely linked to Franco, and it's controversial even how a lot of Spanish football is so heavily focused on two clubs that Barcelona, with their own Catalan connection and the fact that, you know, the breakaway they want the breakaway to happen, and Spain don't want the breakaway to happen, and if the breakaway does happen, that Spain will banish them from La Liga, and it's very complex. So it worries me sometimes that there's a lot more going on there, and it's quite possible that there is favouritism, that people have their allegiances, that people have history with, you know, it might be their families that have been affected by Franco, and you know, it's very closely connected with politics, so it does make me wonder. But either way, they've had decisions go against them a lot this season. They really have. I mean, the last game I watched against Betis, it was absolutely laughable. The ball had clearly gone at 2.5 yards over the goal line, and the defender who cleared it was inside the goal, you know, like fully in the goal. And they weren't given the goal. They got the draw, and they dropped another 2 points. And I'm not, you know, I'm a neutral. I watched the games because of entertainment purposes and the quality of the football. And players that are not appreciated in other places in Europe are actually thriving. Steven Nzonzi is a classic example of a player who looked good in England, looked great at Blackburn. He now looks top quality at Sevilla. Sampaoli he's got his man. He's won La Liga Player of the Month, I think. Top performances. Sevilla obviously doing really well. They've only lost 4 times this season. I think they are 3rd in the table. They won against Sociedad. They won against Real Madrid. They won against Osasuna. I think they lost against Espanyol, but he still played. It was almost like a man of the match performance from Nzonzi. They got the draw against Villarreal, and each time he's been one of their top players. Very consistent. Quite similar, not similar in stature, but quite similar in the style of play to Marcos Senna, and you know how integral Senna was to Spain in that era. It's not an era, it's gone. I suppose it was an era, you know, in that period of time. And Sami Nasri is having a resurgence of his career. He's playing some of the best football of his career, flourishing in that under Sampaoli. Jovetic just made a great start as well. I'm concentrating very much on Sevilla now, I'm switching, but I love La Liga, I love it. I think it's probably... Is it my favourite league? I actually love the Premier League for the entertainment purposes, but for the quality of football, La Liga is actually by far and away. It's just... like, it's less about physicality and the rough and tumble, and Premier League has got more of a balance these days, but La Liga is top to bottom, I think, is blessed with players who are more intelligent, technically superior, and then obviously you've got the major superstars, you know, your Neymars, your blah Modric, probably, you know, Dario Serna said Modric, obviously he's Croatian and he's going to be biased, but he's come out and said that he is the best midfielder in the world. And yeah, a lot of people think that Pogba is the best midfielder in the world. I think Modric is on a completely different planet to Paul Pogba. He's very different, obviously, and he offers less in certain ways, but as far as intelligence, as far as creativity, as far as consistency and tenacity and shooting ability, he's up there with the best of them in the world. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, we're waffling a little bit, aren't we? La Liga, I love it. It was a great game anyway, Copa del Rey. I'm looking forward to the final because we are going to see a smaller team in there, an underdog with the opportunity over 90 minutes to, is it 90 minutes? I think it's 90 minutes, yeah, to bring a trophy home against the big dogs. So that's exciting in itself, but it will probably be Barcelona that win it, and it'll be yet another trophy for Lionel Messi. Suarez won't be playing. They will appeal the decision. He elbowed. Who's he elbowed? Was it a foul? I don't know. Again, it was very debatable. I'm not sure that it was. It looked like, again, I think it was Koke again. It made quite a meal out of it. I could be completely wrong. From what I remember, I don't even remember seeing replays, but when I saw it first time, I was like, no, he's just fighting for the ball. I mean, I know Suarez gets a bad rep. I know that he definitely overreacts a lot of the time, which I don't like, but he'll miss the final now as a result of that red card, which is quite annoying because you want the best players playing in the big games, especially the finals. It's like Paul Gascoigne, 1990, all over again. We didn't make the final, did we? But devastating for a player of that quality to miss out in the big games. And yeah. Anyway, La Liga, what else did I watch? I watched Liga. Watched 2 games from Liga. PSG, with that last minute, it was like a 91st minute winner from Edinson Cavani. Looks a little bit offside. Not gonna lie, it did look a little bit offside. PSG, no Verratti, who is probably my favourite PSG player. I wonder how much longer he'll be there when he'll move, but yeah, there's been talk of a lot of these players moving, like Thiago Silva. They're actually linking him with China now. Czech Tiote moved to 2nd Division Chinese side. No, I don't know why I'm talking about Czech Tiote. I watched the Monaco against Montpellier. Monaco have a guy up top who is 18 years old, Mbappe. Boy, oh boy. He's not perfect yet. He's certainly not strong enough, I guess, for the Premier League just yet, but he really does have a lot of Thierry Henry features in his game. His finishing is Henry-esque, it really is, and the goal that he scored tonight certainly was. If you could like fuzz the camera out and make it look like it was 10-15 years ago, that was fucking Thierry Henry. Physically, he's very similar. And he's now scored 4 goals, 5 assists in 6 starts. I think he's played like maybe 15 games or something like that, but 6 starts. And he's been involved in 9 goals. He's a real talent. And Monaco has scored more goals than any other team in Europe this season, apart from Barcelona. 102 goals. Unreal. They've scored over 64 goals in Ligue 1 so far this season. There's only, 24 games gone. Falcao's banging him in again. But it's Mbappe that's really impressive. And defensively, they looked under pressure. Montpellier got a goal back, and they might have felt that they could have got something from the game, actually. I think Monaco are the 2nd team to beat them at home this year, so they're not used to losing at home. But Monaco, that train keeps on rolling. They keep on the pressure. Obviously, PSG are putting them under great pressure now, but they keep on just extending that lead a little bit, staying at the top. We've got Manchester City in, I think it's 2 or 3 games, and they will test them. City defensively haven't been that good this season, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mbappe caused a few problems. He's very lively. And physically they are good. I like Fabinho. But anyway, Ligue 1 has been another entertaining one this season. It's very tight at the top. PSG should be walking it. They should be absolutely walking it. They've got a plethora of talent, a wealth of talent. But a lot of people see it as just a farmers' league, which I think is just like laughable, seeing as like half the clubs in the Premier League are desperate to sign players from there. Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, Tottenham will all be looking, Chelsea maybe even, possibly not Chelsea, but they will all be looking at Mbappe for sure. Wenger's talks about him already. I'd love to see him at our club, my God. I'd love to see him at Arsenal. But, let's not get ahead of ourselves, because it'll just be one of those players that we nearly signed. And, you know how that turns out. Yeah, anyway. We've talked for a long time. Hope you're all good. I hope you subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next one. I'll do one tomorrow. It is 3:55 AM. I should be in bed. But football. There hasn't really been any other games to talk about that. Well, I didn't watch any other games anyway. Those are the games that I watched. I know, actually, Roma-Fiorentina played today, but I didn't see it. Roma, I think they won 3-0. I saw the goal that Nainggolan scored. Nice breakaway goal. Switched out to the left. Lovely touch when he brought it in. Slotted home. I didn't see anything else from the game. I didn't expect Fiorentina to put up much of a fight. They haven't been as good as Roma. Roma are one of the best sides in Serie A right now. Edin Dzeko, I think he scored as well. He's been bang on form. And although he has his moments, I do like Rudiger. I do like him. If he becomes more disciplined, he'll be very, very good one day. Very good. One other thing we can talk about, it's just coming to my mind, is Çalhanoğlu, who I'm a big fan of, Leverkusen. He's decided to waive his pay. He said that he'll waive his pay for the 4-month ban, the duration of the 4-month ban that he's going to serve, which I think is quite admirable. And yeah, actually in German football, while we're talking about that, there was some fighting going on, some fan fighting between Red Bull and Dortmund at the weekend, which I've only just read about. I saw a couple of clips online as well that really kind of highlighted how passionately German fans feel about the family-orientated structure of their league, and how a lot of people are not very tolerant of this new club that I think were formed in 2009. Leipzig, who've been doing so well. They've been promoted 4 seasons on the trot. They have a system where they buy, I say buy, but they kind of swap players from one Red Bull side to another, whether that be Salzburg or, it is questionable the way they're doing things, but I'm not a fan of what I saw anyway, because there were kids involved and women getting their jackets or scarves ripped off, and it was quite ugly, to be honest. Dortmund won 1-0, Aubameyang scored, and he's another player that will probably on the move, but they sign very smart at Dortmund, don't they? They sign very smart, very clever transfer policy. They bring in Turkish centre-back Ahmet Toprak, another very impressive one. Possibly link him up with Bartra, whose passing is just fucking out of this world. Bartra, if you've not seen Bartra and the way he's able to spread things out wide and surge forward and find those spaces between the lines, he's very impressive. It's quite surprising actually that Barcelona let him go for so cheap. He's very talented, very, very talented. And one day I wouldn't be surprised if they want him back. I wouldn't be surprised. Not totally perfect defensively, but coupled with someone like Umtiti in, say, 5 years, they could be fucking phenomenal as a partnership. But anyway, yeah, we're waffling. So, hope you enjoyed the videos. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to, you can press the subscribe button or the little bell to get notifications whenever I upload. It's just a chilled one, basically. I hope I wasn't speaking too quietly for anyone. I know that it's basically quite late, and you know, like I said, I'm quite knackered. But yeah, until next time, my name's been hughwizzy, and this has been another video. Which no, that's not what I say, is it? My name's been hughwizzy, and this has been a lot of fun. Peace.